the breath flowing, that never-ending cycle from the first moment of birth to the last moment of our life. Our constant companion, ever-flowing friend, leading us on, leading us through, like a comforting wave of the ocean. The intention today is connecting with water, the element of water. So we'll get into all sorts of different poses, especially around the hips, to help out the sacral chakra, whose element is water. And we'll also be exploring all sorts of properties of water as we travel through our class. So just be open to explore any properties of water that I mention, and also any that you know of as well. And see how the symbolism of these properties can give us quite a bit of guidance about how we can follow through in decisions that we make in life, how we can move forward, and how we can be. So like a wave of the ocean, take another huge breath in. And let that breath recede. As it's gone, we start to take our knees into the chest. Perhaps a hand on each knee. We begin to circle around the hip area, starting to connect with that area of our body physically. And feel the rocking around of the hips, almost like the rocking of a boat. Like a rocking of the cradle that lulls the baby to sleep. That baby that's been surrounded by water for the first months of its life. A comforting element from which creation derives. So from here, releasing the left foot to rest on the ground, we allow this right leg to start extending upward. Hands can grab on in whatever way is comforting. And as we're here with this straight leg stretch today, feel a constant, steady flowing through your body of movement. So this could be just circling the toes around, loosening up the ankle. You could have a rhythmic bending and straightening of the leg. You could also keep the leg straight and allow the arms, the strength of the arms, to do a steady pulsing in and release. Whatever type of exploration helps you to deeply connect with this leg, using the motion to help you ease into all the cracks, just like how water can fill every little crevice and receive its nurturing quality. So from here, this leg starts to open out wide to the right side. The right hand is welcome to rest on the inner thigh, just to invite the leg to rest. Noticing how gravity is really what we're trying to release into. Gravity is that aspect that dictates water and where it can be and how it will flow. It finds that path of ease, the path of the least resistance. And it reminds us that when life feels like an upstream battle, Perhaps we can find a new current, a universal current that will lead us a bit more easily toward our destination. Such power and yet such ease. Another beautiful breath in. With that long, slow exhale, we begin to lift this right leg back up, setting right ankle onto left thigh. If you'd like to hug hands around the left thigh, that's beautiful. If that's too much, you don't have to. You could keep the foot down and gently press the knee open. Whatever variation you're exploring with, see if there's gentle movements that feel good. This could be a left and right rocking. This could be the pulsing with the strength of the arms. This could even be allowing left leg to reach up and release back down. So find the flow, the motion, the ever-changing directions. Just like water in motion cannot stay impure for very long. And so with these gentle, steady, continuous motions, it's almost like we're purifying the body from things that are holding it back physically, mentally, emotionally. Another breath just to be present right here. With that breath, it's almost like we've overfilled our dam. We're ready to spill over. So the arms open out, the legs stay in this cross. Just let the legs fall over to a twist to the left. With the hook of the ankle like this gets into some of the deeper IT band, outer thigh, outer hip areas. So breathe this long, steady breath to be present with that watery area of our body, that sacral chakra. Just as water, focusing on its noise, can be very comforting, imagine that any noises that you may be experiencing are simply part of your meditation. Rhythmic, slow pace of the breath in. And with the exhale, we'll start to release the cross of the ankle, turning this into a simple twist, the knees more or less stacking on top of one another. Feel how that changed the relationship around the hip area. Preparing for a right quadricep stretch. We take our right hand and we grab the right foot behind our back. You could absolutely just stay on the side body supporting the head. Some people are able to head that right foot partway back down to the ground, maybe the back partway to the ground, or even all the way there, continuing to slide the foot out to the side. You're only taking this stretch as deep as that right knee and the right quad are still satisfied. They're still doing okay. No pain. You're almost at a stretch, not quite there. One little minuscule movement you can do to bring you into the stretch is scooping your tailbone under and up. That slight lift, changing the relationship in the quad. Once we're there, we reconnect, realizing that when our body isn't in motion flowing, our breath can be that aspect of flow. Constant movement, steady rhythm. One more breath flowing in. And with our exhale, we roll as much over to the left side as we need to free out the right leg. Once it's free, if the leg wants a couple of movements to loosen up the tight spots, feel free to add that in. Continuing as much as you need until eventually we simply plant this right foot and left foot is floating up to the sky. Playing with any sorts of minuscule movements that feel good, through toes perhaps, ankles, maybe a pulsing of the leg or a pulsing of the arm. Anything at all that helps you to fill all those little cracks in the legs. When you're ready, the leg will start to open out clear to the left. Perhaps left hand just rests on the inner thigh. And feel a whole new set of muscles starting to become included. Water is not discriminatory at all. Anything that's in its path, it will include. Another deep inhale. And with the exhale, the leg will start to rise. Take the ankle onto the thigh, perhaps setting up the hug. Wrapping around left side, the right thigh. And little movements we can explore, rocking, straightening and bending, circles with ankles, anything at all. One more breath flowing through our body. Gradually with the exhale, the arms open. In this crossed position, the legs fall to the right. Feeling the muscles start to ease into this shape. Always know if it's too intense, you can back away, meaning legs go further away from the shoulder. Conversely, you could always play with them coming a little bit closer. Every time we come into a yoga class, every time we approach a new pose, we're learning where our body is right then and there. When we step into a river, it will never be the same river again. Even the next moment, the water is already different. And so we realize every day of our life, we're the same way. We are different now. We'll never be the same. And so because of that, we can practice a good amount of forgiveness to ourselves, realizing, yes, I made mistakes today. And tomorrow I'm already different and I don't have to make those same mistakes again. Therefore, I can forgive myself for the past. Similarly, everybody else is also constantly learning. They're constantly different. And so I can forgive others as well. Starting to uncross the ankle. The legs end up in a simple twist. Both knees to the right. Perhaps the body settles into stillness, but yet because we're breathing, we can never be 100% still. So receive the flowing action. Letting it energize you. Letting it purify you. Now the left hand starts to search for the left foot behind our back. You could stay leaning to this right side, or you could return part of the way or all the way onto your back. Be present with the quad, searching for its deeper knowing of what it needs. We live in earth, that element. Everything is rigid. Every rule is strict. We see things very black and white. As we ease into water, we realize that life can be much more fluid. We can creatively solve problems in ways that have never been a solution previously. Allow one more breath to flow through the body here. That breath finishes. We begin to ease this leg out. Once again, take as much time as is needed to help any tight areas have some freedom, have some flow, some movement. Sometimes 2 or 3 rounds of windshield wipers, knees left and right. That simple flowing action is all it can take sometimes to help loosen up all the tight spots. When the legs tell you they're doing pretty good, they're ready to move on, then at that point, we'll start to work our way up toward a seated place, head into cobbler's pose. Let this be personal preference, how close or how far the feet are away from the rest of our body. And as we start to ease our spine forward, let your spine take on the quality of water. Imagine, instead of being made of bones, it's more like a seaweed in the ocean, just playing with that current. So perhaps there's moments where the spine will sway. There could be moments of stillness. Maybe even the neck has freedom, allowing the tension to leave with this nurturing quality of water. Swaying is feeling very good. Continue to play with it. If you'd like to have a few breaths of stillness before we move on, that is also beautiful. And with the support of our hands, we begin to lift the spine back up. We'll leave the left foot in front of our body as it is. The right knee, we're going to try to tuck it to the side. A little hint, the wider we take the knee, the easier it is on the knee if there's any issues. The further forward it points, the deeper the stretch will be. So you have that freedom to play either way. When we start to get here, let's begin to walk hands behind us. Starting to aim for that right quad again. Sometimes we're there immediately. Sometimes the left elbow wants to go down, maybe right. Occasionally, even a deeper release. So it's all up to you how deep you're taking this. Just have that constant connection. To the experience, to the breath, to the body. Experience this release for about 3 more cycles of breath. After that 3rd cycle, reverse every step you took to get into it. When we're back up, we'll either lean over the angle of that left thigh, that'll be the easier variation, or lean directly forward. That'll be the slightly deeper version. It's okay that the hip will lift slightly. Either way, begin to lean forward, easing into the hip. Three more breaths here. We flow back upward. We'll begin to switch the legs out. We'll end up now with the right in front and the left tucked back. Starting to ease into the space behind us. Maybe hands as plenty. Maybe right elbow or both. Maybe all the way down. One more breath cycle in and out. Reversing every step to come up. Once again, choosing to lean over right thigh or directly forward. Another breath to fill up our body. Exhale to let it all go. And then when we start to rise from this shape, we'll allow our legs to come underneath us. On hands and knees, we have lots of options to play with. Moving through our spine as if our spine is in water. We could take up and down motions like a cat-cow. Ribs could go left and right. This could even be more of a circular movement with the ribs. Or maybe moving onto the hips, circles with the hips. Take some time to be in this huge tub of water. Letting the currents take over the motion. One more breath until we find stillness with a neutral spine. From this spot, we head toward puppy pose. We keep the hips over the knees exactly as they are already. We begin to drop down to elbows, or perhaps walking even further forward. It's common to rest the forehead down here as the heart continues to arch and melt downward. Occasionally, there's people that prefer to flip the chin to rest instead. So just find whichever version is easeful and also helpful. This restorative class isn't about pushing boundaries so much as easing into the shapes. Now imagine somebody's grabbing your hips and they're pulling your hips backwards until you find yourself in child's pose. The spine gets to simply arch in a slightly rounded position to the other direction than it just was. And find the arm shape that's most easeful. Perhaps we lead them forward. Perhaps we support our head by stacking palms. Or sometimes I'll tuck my arms backwards. So just find a few breaths, making this pose extremely comfortable. The steady flow of your breath, easing your body, especially your back muscles, into a good release. Finding the hands on the ground, we press our way up. If it's comfortable to sit on the feet for a few breaths, we can be here. Otherwise, ease it out by going a little bit higher. Either way, clasp the hands behind your back. And imagine that your arms are like a big grandfather clock. Let the arms tick over to the right side and over to the left side. Starting to get into some of the deep crevices through the shoulders, filling the water into all those little cracks. Maybe one more time to each side. Then as we're upright, releasing our hands, we'll start heading toward a pigeon pose as long as pigeon pose is restorative to your body. If pigeon pose is too much, instead you'll go back where we were with the right shin in front. If the pigeon pose is okay, right shin will be up at the top of the mat, left leg working its way back. So you choose the appropriate depth for your hips. Sometimes a slight supportive block or blanket under the hip would be useful. As we ensure that the sacrum is level, we can begin to drop down to elbows. Feel the breath taking over, that steady flow. So often the poses that we take, we approach it from that element of earth, where it's like a step-by-step progression, and then you're just in the shape and you're supposed to stay. What if instead of imagining that as our progression toward this place and our release into this place, what if we imagined that we were in water, and for some reason, the water just made our body come into this place? It's the current, that steady flow of the water that's keeping us in this place. Water doesn't often force you into unnatural positions. So feel the water help you ease into this place exactly. Are there any muscle groups that are clenching? If so, can we ease those places, trusting that the water won't bring us deeper than would be helpful. Enjoy one more deep breath right here. And as the exhale disappears, purposely let yourself rock all the way onto the right hip. When that hip touches the ground, this left leg starts to swing around to the front of the mat. The left leg could end up in cross-leg shape. It could end up with left shin on top. It could end with left knee on top. Whatever position you find yourself in should be an easeful place, one that you could easily maintain without hands. And so if you find that it's too much, back down one level, back to shins or back to cross. So whatever place we found, we'll begin to take eagle's arms. We'll place the right elbow under the left elbow. Sometimes just wrapping around for a hug is the best shape. If you can place backs of hands together or palms together, then begin to imagine that the arms are in water. So begin to play with all sorts of directions here. This could be left and right swaying. It could be up and down movements. It could be rotation. Even forward and backward, including the shoulder blades slightly different. So continue to ease into any of the tightness across the shoulder areas. Lots of freedom. Lots of breath. Lots of flow. One last breath here. With our exhale, release the elbows, circle the arms to reach up to the sky. Deep inhale up at the top. Exhale, choose one side to twist. One arm goes forward, one arm goes to the space behind you. Inhale, float back up to the sky as if the currents of water are carrying the hands up. Exhale, just a simple twist to second side. Inhale back up. This time, exhale, the hands come to the ground in front of us. And we can continue to water slide forward. Including whole new areas in the glutes, the low back, the hips. Start to walk back in. As we begin to release our legs, in your own style, your own way, we'll work on heading toward the pigeon pose with the left shin in front. Any things that you need to do in between, they're absolutely welcome. Any way to approach the pose is fine. There's no rush when it comes to water. Water will take all the time it needs to get there. Yet somehow, there's always that gratitude that it arrived. That the life that it nourished, the plant life, the animal life, that all of it will continue to flourish because of the presence of water. Perhaps allow this side of the pose to be a moment for you to tune into water and invite water to come to this desert land. Not inviting out of fear or lack, but inviting out of the excitement for life, growth. Envisioning what it is to have water. Envisioning those moments when you've played in the rain or when you've played in the snow. Here we'll start to rock onto the left hip. The right leg will start to swing around in front. Again, setting up in cross leg, right shin stack, or right knee stack, whatever's working for the hips. As we find ourselves in this spot, this time left elbow is under for any amount of eagle wrap that works for our body. With left under, start to let the swaying, freeing movements happen. We realize that water, at least for the cap of the very surface layer of the earth, water makes up much more than earth does. And so if your life has felt very much ruled by earth, see if there's a way to invite water and its flowing and easeful presence in. As if getting to our destination was less about work, effort of the legs, It's more about just sitting in it and going for a ride. One more breath through the shoulders. As the exhale releases, circle the arms up to the sky with an inhale. This time, just go directly to planting the hands in front of you and sliding forward. Imagine how our body absolutely requires water, the blood, the synovial fluids. Imagining that the healing of our body was as easy as tapping into the stem cells in the bone marrow and easing that out with the blood. And allowing any healing to be transported via the blood to the areas that need it. And as we take a few more deep breaths, the energy, the prana of the breath starts the healing process right here and right now. One more good breath. And then as we climb up, we'll start the journey from that healing place toward our Shavasana. Imagine heading to Shavasana as easy as a waterfall. We're simply going from one plane down to the next plane. So if there's any movements that might ease your transition toward Shavasana, let that be the waterfall. Take as much time as you need. All the patience in the world. Only when you find yourself completely at ease, you allow the body to release into whatever shape of Shavasana your body wishes to take today. Some people will find themselves in Shavasana sooner than others. I'll start to explain this analogy that we can take, but don't feel any rush if you're still exploring movements. Think of yourself on a surfboard. And as you simply let the breath flow, think of that as ocean waves rocking us on this surfboard. So all we have to do is simply lay here and be lulled into a restful, healing place. We'll begin to deepen our inhales and our exhales. We'll invite little movements to return back to fingers and toes, ankles and wrists, stretching out like we're waking up first thing in the morning. Eventually easing into a fetal position, where we take a few bonus breaths, maybe 3 or 4, until eventually at some point you feel ready to rise up to a comfortable seated place. As we rise, the hands will join together in front of the heart. We recall all sorts of properties of water that we've traversed through in this beautiful class. And we pick one quality that stuck out to us more than others. And as we travel into the rest of this day and perhaps the next few days, we try to see if we can take on this aspect of water, this quality, as we travel into the unique circumstances that will come to us. And we see if we can meet those circumstances with a little bit more fluid quality. This ease, this flow, this forgiveness. And so with water to lead us on, this deep inspiration, let's wrap up the time we got to share together today with the sound of Om. Deep inhale now. May we be filled with light and happiness and peace. Namaste.